Hey, what's up, folks? Welcome back to another 3D Hangouts. This is the live special edition with guest Liz Clark.
Hi.
Liz, hey.
Hey.
Yay. We're going to have a special lined up show for you. Thanks, JP, for kicking off this special day. It is CircuitPython Day. We're hanging out in the Discord chat room. We'll give some shout outs to folks. But before we do that, we have our little bit of housekeeping we got this morning, as we do with every show. So let's start off with CircuitPython Day schedule. There's a blog post. How nice. So this will let you know when all the streams are going on. Basically a full packed day with a little bit of an interlude somewhere in there. Check out the blog post if you want to know exactly when stuff is happening. So yeah, let's talk about the next thing that I usually do. Hello, everybody. Let's just because there's a lot of people. It's early. We just had lots of coffee, so we're all hyped up and ready to get this day started. So, Pedro, you would
please. And shout outs to everybody hanging out in all of the chat rooms. You can join, like you said, at discord.gg/Adafruit. We're also hanging out in the Twitch over at Twitch/Adafruit. And here's all the links over there. We're also in the LinkedIn, the Periscopes, and I think, did Facebook agree?
Yeah, Facebook's just check. Green check. We're good. Check. We're good on all the places. So welcome, everybody. The Discord chat rooms we're hanging out. So shout out to Skur.
That is how much coffee I need there, Skur.
Chess Mess, JP, Chepler, all the crew and more. Yeah, we're hanging out. So let me kick off the housekeeping stuff. Adafruit.com/free. If you get stuff, you get free stuff. Let's take a quick look at the freebies this week. If you spend $99 or more on your order, you'll get a free PCB coaster with a golden Adafruit logo.
Perfect for your coffee.
I'd love to get one. If your order is $149 or more, you'll get that coaster plus the KB2040 keyboard. That's that lovely RP2040 board. If your order is $199 or more, you'll get the coaster with the golden logo, the RP2040 keyboard, and free UPS ground shipping. It's back. Huzzah. And if your order is $299 or more, you get all the stuff I just said, plus a Circuit Playground Express. Adafruit.com/free for the details. These get automatically added to your cart. No need for a coupon. Having said coupon, you can apply this coupon with your freebies. It'll get you 10% off your order if you type in code CircuitPyDay, all lowercase. I think case matters. That's pretty much the intro that we do normally, and then I head back over to Discord, see gifs, memes, banter. Yanu Scoo is out with coffee.
Well, congrats to Chess Mess. The bamboo printer has arrived.
Nice.
Very cool.
Cool.
Very cool.
All right. Very good. Very good. So we're gonna do things a little bit different. Normally we talk about project of the week, and then we talk about prototyping, then shop talk. We're gonna kind of look at a couple of Liz's projects.
Well, collab projects.
Our collab projects, yeah. And kind of your journey onto Adafruit, CircuitPython itself, how it's been these past 5 years.
But yeah,
5
I'm
years.
old now, so
okay. Okay. So first up, let's talk about Liz's first CircuitPython project, and that is somewhere here. Where is it?
I think it's it. Yeah.
This one.
Okay.
Let me bring up the screen.
Great.
All right. This is your first CircuitPython project. How did it come about?
Yeah.
And tell us your experience with writing.
So I had just started, I think I'd done one guide at that point for Adafruit, and it was a snow globe that used MakeCode. And this is also one of my first 3D printed projects. I had just gotten a 3D printer, and I wanted to make a little ring light for my GoPro that I was also using for time lapses for my 3D printing. And so when I was chatting with PT and Lamore about, like, hey, do you want to guide on this? They said, sure, but you should also try to write the code in CircuitPython. So, which I was like a little concerned to do because I had like just kind of sort of figured out how to do Arduino. So the idea of doing another programming language was like really daunting to me. But it ended up working out. I remember struggling a bit, but basically all the code is doing, it's an RGB W NeoPixel ring. So what the pot is doing is it's affecting the level of white from 0 to 55 mapped to the pot. And so that way you can adjust the brightness and you're not dealing with the red, green, or blue. It's just the white. And so that also means that you're not getting like that kind of like weird blue white that you get when you turn on all the normal RGB LEDs. So that was my first CircuitPython project. It's using a Trinket M0. If you want to go to the 3D printing, since this is the 3D printing show as well.
Yeah, one sec. I would like to talk about just NeoPixels and LEDs in general is the best like first project. So if folks haven't done a CircuitPython project, a NeoPixel goes a long way. Like this can be adapted to so many different things. It could be a light installation, a fun art project, or something as useful as like, oh, let me add a light that I can control the brightness to.
And I feel like with doing like microcontroller projects, like it's really satisfying to have the LEDs because you're getting like instant gratification. And if you have something like the pot controlling it, like you are seeing in real time what your code is doing. And I think that like really makes it for a really good experience. Especially like I always like to do projects for stuff that I can then like use in real life. So like the light is like useful. And so that then like motivates me to like work on it. And so I always recommend to folks if you're like trying to get started, like think about something that you would like that maybe you don't necessarily want to buy. And then you can like make it and make it custom for your needs. I think that's a kind of a good way to get into stuff.
For sure. What was writing CircuitPython like in the early days? Like resources, what did you use to kind of reference to like how can I code for a NeoPixel?
So we were talking about this a little before we started streaming, and I think the Essentials guide existed, which I still reference to this day because I'm really bad at like remembering the syntax of stuff. So even when I'm starting a project, I'll be like, how do I set up digital IO again? And kind of build out from there. So I want to say there was, based on looking at this code and some code we're going to look at after, I think I was looking at like the analog example, which shows you how to read a plot and map the value, and then the basic like NeoPixel example too, especially because it says pix pin and numpix, and I know those are kind of the set-in variables that are used. So yeah, I remember looking at the Essentials guide there. It was still pretty new. I want to say it was like CircuitPython 2 or so the resources were kind of like just starting. So it was a little tricky, but then I have to say the resources grew like exponentially. I want to say in like that year. All of a sudden, like there was just so many projects to reference and everything, so it made it a lot easier.
And this became one of those references because in the early days, like, well, how do I make a light and how do I adjust the brightness of the pot? Well, there you go. You were the one that kind of contributed to that. So the Learn Guide is packed with so many CircuitPython projects, hundreds of them probably. I don't know the exact number, but I want to say hundreds.
I want to say most projects now. Put it in CircuitPython.
Yeah. All right. So after the highness, getting high off of the of your first successful Learn Guide, well, it's not your first, but your first successful CircuitPython based Learn Guide.
Yeah.
The next one is let's do some colors.
Yeah. So I'm sure my thought process here was like, okay, I just controlled the percentage of white. What if I did like controlling the RGB and I could do like this mixer thing? So with this project, like you're using 3 pots and each one is affecting the red, green, or blue. And then the NeoPixel strip there will show that color, but that's also shown on the LCD. And it's showing like added together like what the color is. And then those LEDs below the pot are actually just regular red, green, and blue LEDs just as like an indicator thing. So we were also talking like we might want to remix this to make it into like a game where like the screen will tell you what color to mix, and then you have to mix it in, and then it'll say. But I think probably coming from the GoPro project, I like the idea of mixing with pots. And then for extra credit, I was asked to do a HSV, which is hue, saturation, and I forget what the V stands for, but I did that, and I was looking at this like you can tell I was really new because I did 3 functions where it could have just been one function where instead of having it like hard coded what pot I'm reading, like I could have been passing the pot as a variable. But you know, it shows growth. It does work. Python's very forgiving, which is nice.
Yeah.
But and then if you scroll down a little bit, you can see the LCD message, like learning the different stuff that you can do with string manipulation and values in Python. I always find to be really cool. Like if you get one bit of data, it's really easy to be like, well, I know it's an integer, but I actually want it to be a string. I want to show it on a display or vice versa. So that's something I use a lot in projects. And this was the first time I was able to really, try that out.
This is a big step up from just making a light, turn on. So you got the LCD, you got a couple pots, NeoPixel, and RGB LEDs.
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty cool.
Yeah. And you said you built it?
Yeah. So I like this project so much. I like the idea of it that I actually built it. I 3D printed it and soldered the parts together and got the code running, and it worked on first go.
Yay.
And I think we shared it on 3D Hangouts in 2018 or wherever this was, whatever year it was built. And it was a lot of fun. For me personally, we're big Disney fans, me and Pedro. And back in kind of classic Epcot days, there was this
pavilion that had this as like an experience.
a kiosk where it was a game, and you had to mix the colors with sliders to like get to win the game, basically. And there's these big things, and that right there is kind of the same idea as like, oh, you have these sliders, or in this case the pots, to get this to match the color that's given to you. So that's really cool, and we might redo it. And now that we have really good audio support, we have prop maker feathers, RP2040s, so we could really have it like be this super cool, elaborate game.
Yeah, and the wiring's also easier now because like there's a stemma version of the LCD, or we could do iSpy for a really nice
color display.
Yeah, color display. So a lot of progress and like
on all the
short
fronts,
amount of time,
right?
relative.
So the hardware is a lot easier to work with. The software is a lot easier to work with. We have the LED animation library, so you can have some fun animations going on, and you can scale that up to be as big as small as you want. So
huge.
We could recreate the Epcot, pavilion.
It's a whole room.
The whole room.
Just
There were these giant paint buckets, and the paint bucket would change the color. Cool. It was so
freaking. We go up with the
paintbrush,
LED paintbrush. Again, remember it changed the colors. Just using the color sensor to see what like color that you dipped it into the bucket.
Oh,
that whole experience was super cool.
Right. This is when Epcot.
Gavin loved this project because he was able to relive that since they tore that whole building down. Like it's just a hole now.
It's a shame. Now we're going into Epcot mode. Like it used to be like about learning and discovery. It was almost like a museum, but like
that was the whole goal, to learn how things work and
be inspired about the future.
This is definitely cool because it can teach you like what web colors you can actually use. What is going to be able to display.
That reminds me, Guy DuPont did a similar project. I think he sells it on his Etsy, where it's a color dialer, and I want to say, I don't want to misspeak, but I think it can send it as a string when you send it. So if you're doing like web design, you can like kind of dial in the color. And
and for like the kids being able to see, okay, this is what orange is in hex colors, as they're walking through the world, they can be like in matrix mode and be like, oh, that's 000, oh, that's FFF, whatever.
Right.
Color for that is. So it's really good to instill that in the kids' mind of being able to know.
Fun and a learning tool. I think that's what's
having in the back of their head to know what color in code, what colors are.
Yeah.
This was your first snap fit case too.
Yes, and I did it kind of upside down, where
why is this?
like the front should really be the panel piece.
Oh, right. I see what you're saying.
But
Oh,
it's
yeah.
actually the back I did it as the panel. And so I remember assembling. It was a little tight, but it worked out. But I had like just started 3D printing, and I referenced your snap fit
Yay.
video.
The
but
snap fit lives on.
yes, I love a snap fit.
Cool.
But
and this kind of taught you how to document as well, like learning.
yeah, I
to
see.
document is
I
kind
did
of important.
photos on my like TV table. That's a nice wood grain there. So
Wonderful. All right. So that's a huge milestone. Really, really cool.
Yeah.
After that, we're gonna go into some future stuff. We're gonna go into IoT.
yeah.
And
So
Octoprint.
the reason why I'm here, we collaborate a lot with code and projects, and so this project is because you insisted on installing Octoprint, and which is amazing. I was just too lazy to set it up before. But as you were setting up, I was like, no, could CircuitPython do something with Octoprint? Like, could it be a project? So I started looking into it, and there's Octoprint has this cool MQTT plugin, and Adafruit.io has MQTT support. So a lot of the guide is actually documenting how to do all the MQTT stuff. It can be a little finicky. But what ended up coming out of all of that is this lovely octopus enclosure. And it uses a Feather ESP32 S2 with the reverse mount TFT, so it has the buttons and stuff. And so right from here, you can like talk to Octoprint and get data down from it as well. So while a print is going, it'll show you the progress at the bottom, and like on this main menu here, it just shows that it's operational, so your printer's on, and I could like heat it up or cool it down or do kind of a refresh thing, and I've got the little Octoprint logo there. And so this was a really fun CircuitPython project because it's using Display.io and it's using Adafruit.io as the MQTT broker. So it was a really fun project to work on. And I know some folks have worked on it. So it's always fun when people make the project that you spend time working on and are able to utilize the documentation you put together. So, and you also have a version that's unfortunately not in an octopus case.
It's just a standard.
Which is fine, I guess.
Yeah.
And I did release a version of the case where it doesn't have the wonderful tentacles or the head. It's just kind of like soap bar case. If you want like a simple box, which I guess I understand. But talk about the design a little bit with these tentacles. I did a sketch for one of them, and then I did a pattern around and then extruded. So, and trying to get the shape was like a little tricky, but I used spline. So it's called.
Oh yeah, spline.
And did that, and so I'm really happy with this base because it holds up really nicely, and that's just attached with a screw. That's a little loose right now, but then
that's a cool feature.
That is a cool feature.
Yeah. So that's one of my more favorite projects, and it's like useful. Like you can use it I don't have to like log into the monitor, see how the print's going, or heaven forbid, get up to check the printer. I can just like have that at my desk, or we've put it on the coffee table and we're like watching a movie or something, and I can just like at a glance know how the print's going. So
use it every day. It gets daily use whenever the printer's on. I have to have it on. And I really love the hardware because it's an all-in-one board. It has a built-in screen. There's no soldering here. It's such a great piece of hardware. The buttons are already built in for you, so you packed a lot in the screen too. So you're able to add these lovely full color icons. Instead of having labels, you have icons. It's really nice. I know what the fire icon means. It means preheat. The refresh icon means reload. And
for the icons, and what I do with Display.io a lot, so that I'm not like bringing in a bunch of assets to Display.io because that can like really kind of cram up the memory, is I'll do kind of a layout in Illustrator. And if stuff's going to be static on the screen, then I will kind of export that as an image. So like when you're seeing the side icons and the octopus and everything and the line even, like that's a static bitmap that gets loaded on, and then it's just the text that's getting updated, and the status bar is an asset in display.io. But by doing that, then you're not having to like load all these little bitmaps and also be really finicky about how the placement is on the screen. You can just have this kind of like, almost think about it as like a desktop background that, and like you can control before getting into code, like where everything's placed, and then upload it. Because if you just put in your screen dimensions as your canvas size and whatever like program you like to use, then you can use that as kind of a real world view. So definitely recommend that for display.io projects if you get frustrated trying to place things perfectly in code.
Yeah, that's a great tip. This uses a lot of CircuitPython.
Yes.
Look at all those imports.
Yeah, so having really good display support is amazing. The progress bar is a really good piece to showcase that.
Yeah, I really like that feature. That's really
right?
fun.
Like that makes this project so much better to have like a status bar.
Yeah.
And just be able to tie into it. Adafruit.io, it's free for folks to try out if you want to check that out. It's free for 2 devices and I think 10 feeds or so. But check out Adafruit.io if you want to do IO projects.
This project does benefit from the IO Plus. Just full disclosure, if you want to have like all the feeds, because the MQTT plugin has a lot of stuff you can monitor. So if you don't want to like monitor all the feeds, you can configure that within Octoprint, and I do show how to show that. So
cool. Yeah, it's all documented here, and all of the individual chunks of code are broken down and documented very nice. So
I try
on that. Yeah, it's all good.
I do that so if folks are trying to do their own project, they can see like, okay, I don't want to like recreate exactly what you have here, but I want to see like how you can use the buttons to do stuff. Then someone can go in and be like, okay, I'll copy and paste this chunk.
Yeah, it's a really good resource. So if folks don't know about it, definitely check it out. And it's customizable, so if folks want to create their own build, you can because it's CircuitPython, you could make it run off a PyPortal, have a bigger display.
Yeah, definitely could.
You could even use the Feather DVI, display it on a big DVI display.
Yeah.
So you can have like this custom, kind of like CNC. Yeah. How they have these big things. Have a big e-stop button. That's a real thing. You can really do that. So for folks that have their own print farm,
or the schools.
Schools.
Beautiful schools,
would be a good project build for the students.
Yeah, Paul Cutler is saying he was able to reuse your box for different projects.
Oh, excellent.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, not only the case, but like you were saying before, the code, you can rip that apart and reuse all of that.
Sweet.
Cool.
Very awesome.
Cool. Hey, shout out to Guy DuPont. He has his GitHub for his dial toner.
Good.
Excellent. Thank you for posting that.
Excellent.
And Ty's saying that, thank you for separating all the sections of the code and being descriptful. Makes it very, thanks for going extra mile, he says.
That's great.
I try to write it of like, what would I look for when I'm documenting a project? So put that out into the world.
Yeah, just scrolling through piece of code, it can be daunting.
It hurts.
Like, there's so much.
I know.
Your eyes.
And as Lamar and PT say, like the learn system is really like for us when we go back.
Yeah,
I remember how did I do that? So it's really for future you to go back and be like, okay, this is how I did this chunk of code.
Yeah, I'll have like multiple past projects open when I'm starting a new project. Be like, okay, how do I do this? How do I do that? Smush them together into this weird pizza.
All right, cool. Let's see. Next one.
Next one.
Is
more IoT.
There you go. Yeah.
This time with
server.
A cow. So tell us about your experiences with the Pico W.
Yeah. So I wrote one guide that was like getting started with Pico W and just showing examples with CircuitPython that was like kind of basic like IO examples and things. So I knew we had an HTTP server library, but I didn't really know how it worked. I hadn't really seen folks use it on the Learn system. And so I tried to make one. So it's basically what it does is it's passing HTML code as a server. So then like I can go onto a web page, and I did open it up on my phone.
Okay.
And so
Full screen.
I don't know if it'll.
There you go.
There we go.
Yeah, so this web page is being served from our lovely
from the
cow.
How
And
cool.
it's a cow because everyone was calling the Pico W a pie cow. So
very, very good pun.
love that.
Yeah.
So when there's a temperature monitor there, that little tubey thing.
Mhm.
And it will show that on the screen, and it also shows your SSID and your IP address, which is what you log into. And then on the actual server, it will also display the thing. And then there's buttons that can control stuff on the cow. So like if I press the party button, then
our party.
it's a slow fading RGB LED, which I really like to use. And also a party parrot comes on the screen because who doesn't want that?
It's such a cool way to interface with your projects that might be embedded in a kiosk or something like that. You're serving up the web server. You don't really need, well, you do need Wi-Fi, right? I mean,
yeah, because it's anything that is on. Our cats are just tearing around.
They love a cow. They love a party.
You can like, I basically wrote it as an example so that you could see like how buttons work and how you would do that in a larger project. Like this by itself is not necessarily that useful, but it's showing you like how you would take data, display it, how you would log in, how you would use buttons to control things. Like I just press the party button again, and now we turn off the LED and the display goes back to normal. So this, I kind of wrote it just to have like an example out there, and also to design a cute cow case.
Yeah. It kind of leverages the cheap hardware of the, let me change that, of the Pico W. So you get an IoT board for $6. It's an RP2040. It's got full CircuitPython support, so you get all the bells and whistles from CircuitPython libraries.
And it's using the Pi Cowbell.
Right.
That's an add-on board, and so that gives you a Stemma QT port and gives you like places to actually solder to.
Right. Yeah.
Nice.
I love me extra ground pins. So if folks are still using their Pico W, check out the Pi Cowbell.
And a reset button.
Oh my God, the reset button.
Yeah.
Right. So again, because CircuitPython, you can use whatever display. You can use a TFT, an OLED. You can do the DVI output if you'd like with a couple code changes. So you can have like a giant kiosk that's controlling a robot or taking a picture, and you can go to your phone to log into it and interface with it. So you don't have to have these physical buttons. You can use your phone or a tablet or something like that that's connected to Wi-Fi. Yeah. So really good example of like IoT, hardware, physical computing, and CircuitPython. So very, very cool. Yeah, it's a really good resource.
And then for the 3D printing, I did this in Fusion, and again used the spline to make some nice, cow splotches. And there are 3 versions of the lid. If you don't want a cow but still want to be a little, sassy, you can do just a cow print there, or you can have it be plain if again you just want a little box. But this is done with color changes. So basically almost every layer you're changing color to get it. But I think it's worth it because who doesn't want a cow server?
Yeah. Yeah, very photogenic cow.
Yes.
I like how you have the cutout for the Pico W. So
you have to let everyone know it's on a Pico W. That's how the internet.
Stylish trend. You got to show it off.
Yeah. Great use of the color swapping technique. That's
I really love using that.
Yeah, I do too. It's really nice. So good tips. Any other bits that you want to talk about, like in the?
I will say that the HTTP server library got a really nice upgrade from Foamy Guy. He did a lot of work on it, and this code has been updated to work a bit. So
sweet.
It is easier to do some stuff now, just syntax wise. So if you've been curious about an HTTP server, which I'm sure everyone is, you can check it out, and read the docs is really good for checking out how everything works and everything. So.
I have a background in web design. It's so nice to see HTML, like just raw HTML, and JavaScript.
Comes
I had
back.
never used HTML, so actually that was the harder part of the
Really?
project.
Oh,
I
Oh,
like
man.
didn't know what I was doing,
Oh man,
but I figured
you
it
got a
out.
crash course in HTML?
Yeah, I was like,
CSS.
I was like, I remember some of this from like having a MySpace page when I was.
Oh,
That's true.
But
Yeah.
otherwise, I was like, I don't know.
Right. But hey, now folks, if they haven't played with HTML, this is going to get you far because it's got all the elements that you need. You have a header, you have a body of text, you have buttons. I actually don't even know how you did the buttons.
So it's the whole HTML is passed as an F string, which
Oh my
then
gosh.
like you see where the cursor is a temp test.
Oh, yeah.
That's how you're passing in the variables from your CircuitPython code. That was the tricky part. That was like really the thing to figure out. So passing as the F string, so then you can get your variables in, because a lot of HTTP server projects, they have it as a separate file that then gets passed in. And so I was trying to figure out how to get stuff from the code in was the part that was annoying.
Yeah.
But figured it out.
That's a great example. I'm glad you have an actual temperature sensor, because you're taking a sensor reading from the real environment and then displaying it on the display.
Yeah.
So it's really cool. And of course you got a GIF that, is it a GIF? It's not a GIF, is it? It's like
it's
a
a
bitmap,
it's a bitmap.
Right.
Tile grid.
Yeah, tile grid.
So it just scrolls through.
So much good stuff in this. It's like, how do I get a GIF playing? Oh, I can use a bitmap sprite sheet.
Well, now we have GIF support. So
now we have GIF support.
People
could just
do
really
that.
play a GIF. But if you're limited on like RAM and space, you'll probably want to do a sprite sheet.
Yeah.
So lots of stuff. IoT, display, GIFs, parrot, cow.
So many animals
all
this
the
morning.
Stuff, yeah. And if folks want to get it right, you can get all the assets by clicking on the
download project bundle,
So
bundle fly.
All those lovely libraries.
Very convenient.
I feel that instead of the little cloud, we need a fly icon there for all the buttons.
More fun.
I think there is a mascot art.
Oh yeah, it's a cool fly.
Yeah.
See, Clever is saying that he avoided the F-string problem in Husky project by just exposing a second URL and returned JS variable.
Yeah, that's a cool tip. All right.
That's a lot.
This is why we love the Discord.
That is why their name is Clever, I guess.
Very clever. You're pointing there to Jeff's non-Cal
Yes,
version.
yeah.
It's pretty good too. I like
Shout out to Jeff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is a good use of the Pico W as well with ChatGPT. Nice arcade button.
Yes.
Love it. Thanks for the blog post to Jeff on what is Bundlefly. If you want to read more about it, awesome.
Yeah, it was really critical to get an easier solution for folks to get their projects up and running, and project bundles. Like, took a lot of internal work.
Yeah.
To get that running. So shout out to the internal Adafruit team for making the magic.
Yes.
It is magical.
You are the magic.
Makes our lives easier too.
It just keeps getting better. And I like that you pointed out that Tim Foamy Guy did an update and made it easier. Like, these projects aren't stuck being out of date. They get updated. And that's so great. And you get all that with CircuitPython. Super cool. I think that's all the projects that we wanted to talk about. That was a lot of stuff.
We got 20 minutes. I think the rocket one, if you want to go.
Rocket.
Oh, rocket. Okay. I don't have it loaded, but I can just type in rocket. See what shows up.
So many
rockets. All right. So this is a collab. Pedro, you did the design. Liz, you did the code. So Pedro, how did you get inspired to make this project or design this project?
Well, like a lot of projects, Lamar's like, hey, I saw this cool thing. Can you make this?
That's right. I forgot. That's why I asked you, because I forgot. Why did you come up with this?
Yeah, so I think it was definitely inspired by some of the night lights that a lot of the kids use. And there was a really cool rocket-based one. And she was like, oh, if you use like the switch here to make it look like a command center. And yeah, man, the kids loved it. So the cool thing that was added was Liz had added the ability to, first off, adjust the audio on here. So
the volume.
And then super cool, using the exact same thing, because I was going to put two buttons on there, one for the light brightness and one for the audio, but you just have it on So when you push in, it goes into the brightness mode, so you can adjust how bright you want the night light to be. And then can't really see it there. It's not really powerful enough to push the fan that's in there. There is a little fan inside that kind of, you know, sways the flames around.
It's a gentle roaring fire.
Yeah. But definitely one of the kids' most favorite projects because, again, it looks like a little command center. It's useful as a nightlight, and they can go in there and control how bright they want it to be, or the white noise too. Absolutely works for putting the kids, you know, lulling them to sleep. So definitely one that I had to go in there and steal out of the rooms because thanks so much. And some of the things that we're using inside here, I don't even remember. Let me turn this off real quick. Let me open it up.
Oh, yeah, Alarm Guide.
Use it in here.
What is in here? So it's a prop maker feather wing and the 2040 feather. Now we have an all-in-one board, so it makes it easier. The build would be so much better now because you just use the screw block terminal.
Yeah, the sandwich gets thinner. There's Declan there using that.
So a couple NeoPixel rings and stemma, rotary encoder makes it easy to use now with stemma. You got that speaker that you can connect right into the feather wing, or if you got the prop maker feather all-in-one board, it'd probably be easy to adapt it since it's kind of
it'd be
it's using an I2S amp.
Yes, on the wing.
On the wing, right? Cool.
Yeah, and then you're able to control a volume in software rather than having a pot with the mixer library in CircuitPython, which I've been using a lot with all the prop projects we've been working on recently, as a really easy way to just control the volume, usually with like a rotary encoder, and you can just map the range, and it's really nice because if you've ever tried to control volume with a potentiometer, it can get a little not great. So doing it in software is really nice, and that's also a fun way to be able to mute it too, rather than having to like reinstantiate it and everything. You can actually just keep the file playing in the background and then have it so that the volume gets dropped to 0 and then come back up. So that's a fun trick.
I'm also seeing here it's got the MP3 library. Shout out to Jeff Epler for working on that. That is very nice to be able to have MP3 decoding in CircuitPython, so you can have really small file sizes of your audio files instead of having these big waves. And
just being able to drop the audio files onto the CircuitPython drive is really excellent, because otherwise, if you're doing it with other programming languages, sometimes you have to like make it into this header file, and it's like a whole thing. So being able to just take the file and drop it on, and also being able to switch them out easily too, like to try different things. The sound effect on this is actually NASA open sources their audio files. This is a space recording, I think, of, if I remember correctly, Saturn's rings.
That's
what you said.
So that was fun to hunt down too.
So cool. NeoPixels, Saturn sound effects,
there you go,
LED animations, rotary encoder control, different modes. This thing's jam-packed with lovely jelly. I'm hungry.
Jelly.
Yeah. I want a bagel with jelly.
All right.
So you broke down everything here. Look, there's Saturn as a source of intense radio emissions. You broke down everything here. So it would be kind of easy to adapt this to the new Feather RP2040 prop maker.
Yes. Yeah. And if you're looking at the learn guides we've done recently for all the props, there is the Mario wand, the lightsaber, and the Adabot. It's based a lot on this one, actually,
really?
where if it wasn't already pre-existing, just getting NeoPixels, audio, and things to play nicely together. Really easy with CircuitPython.
Yeah.
Very cool. And for when the kids get older and get actually interested in, sort of modifying this, go back, plug it in, and actually read back what the code that was on there is.
You can change the pixel color, any of that.
Yeah. All right.
Cool. I think that was it.
I guess the last
notes here. Oh, the mini fighter.
Mini fighter. Yeah. So.
Do you want me to grab it?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, yeah. Go ahead. I use this thing every day. So as a musician, I'm a big fan of arcade buttons. Shout out to DJ Tech Tools for coming up with this idea back in maybe like 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah.
It's basically a MIDI controller that uses arcade buttons. And I wanted to collaborate with you, oh my gosh, on this project because you've done quite a few MIDI projects. And I hadn't seen something like this where you can change the MIDI note mapping on the fly with a little 5-way switch and display it on the screen. And the Pico had just come out.
Yes.
Oh, where's
so again, we have a window letting everyone know it's running on the Pico because that is how the internet works. And it's fun because it's a little acrylic cutout.
Yeah,
so it's cute.
Yeah, it's
window
cute.
Into its soul.
Tell me, how was writing code for the display and how was it?
This was a little tricky is because I hadn't done it before. And that's why I like collaborating with both of you, because you'll have these ideas for the projects and be like, can we do this? I almost kind of sometimes will refer to it as like a code deli, like, hey, can I get a little bit extra mustard, a little extra mayo? Yeah. We're apparently very hungry. But I like that because it lets me kind of stretch from what maybe I would have just done on my own. So having the idea of the display and being able to change the buttons, because that was your experience when you tried to do a finger drumming and stuff, you really want to be able to change like what's controlling what. It was challenging at first, but then I remember when I finally got it, I was like, yes, because there's actually, I think there's two, you can do different splashes in Display.io, and so there's a splash that shows like the whole like matrix of buttons, and then there's a splash that'll show you like the one that you're affecting and how you're changing it. And I mentioned earlier like being able to like manipulate data in Python really easily. So that's another one where I'm taking that MIDI note number that exists and is being sent, but I'm transferring it into a string so then it can be shown on the display. And that makes it really easy to do that rather than having these separate assets that you're trying to, control and write. You can just take the data that you are manipulating and kind of send it around and transform it.
Yeah, you came up with the UX. I had the initial idea, but you really came up with a good way to kind of display like what does an edit mode look like for this particular button.
And we have the LED blink for the button that you're affecting that you've selected. You want? Okay.
Yeah. Get a live demo here.
Wow. And you use the magnetic thing. I did. So that's nice.
That lets you know I use it every day.
Yes. Yeah. He drums while I play guitar.
Yes. Give it a second to load up.
Okay.
Is it plugged in?
I thought it was.
Live
demo, huh?
Too much. It was too much for it.
Yeah.
It's on.
Yeah. It's
unplug
it. No, just unplug it and plug it back in.
Okay. Well, while we're here, it's also using a stemma. Oh, it came on. It heard me.
There it
was
is.
like I can do it. So yeah, it has the little circles which is another Display asset. You can like bring in different shapes, and it mimics this. And
you have a stroke that lets you know what thing you're selecting, what note you're about to change.
I remember doing that was a little tricky, trying to figure out how to do that.
Yeah. Being able to go back and loop around.
Getting
super
all
nice UX.
the directions to work.
It's so intuitive. Like I think for granted, like how intuitive it is, but it really was.
I was looking at the code recently, and I think there's a more streamlined way I can do it. But at the time,
you might need to do that streamlined way for one of Gavin usually comes up with like suggestions, or not suggestions, but like ideas, yeah. And I think we're gonna need that for that fast wrench, whatever thing that he wants.
So. Right, yeah, the fast wrench. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is cool. So the button blinks to let you know, hey, I'm changing this button.
Yes.
And this so I'll always know what I'm changing. And then this is what note I'm changing.
Yes. And then you do select to change it back, and then it will show you what note it's changed to on the little display.
Yeah. The 5-way navigation switches are pretty handy.
I like these a lot. Yeah. Yeah. And you did a little PCB for it.
That's right. Yeah. You can actually 3D print it or get it made or mill it if you'd like, if you have access to one. So super cool, super robust.
Mhm.
MIDI notes. I'm a huge finger drummer.
Yes.
Yeah, so display IO.
You can carry it around
You can carry it around
for all your MIDI needs
Yeah.
on the fly, on the
Yeah.
subway, you know.
Your MIDI notes packed in a nice little thing.
Yeah.
There's a lot of wiring and stuff, but that's
So
just
much wiring.
that's just
I
that's
mean,
the name of the game with these
Yeah.
arcade buttons. But really cool to have the buttons light up and have a built-in LED.
And what I was saying while we were waiting for our friend to come to life was there's a stemma multiplexer in here.
Yep.
And that's how we're able to get enough IO to control the LEDs individually, the buttons individually, and also the switch. Even though the Pico has a ton of pins, we still need a little extra help from our friend. And it's the LED driver mux, if I remember correctly. Yeah, the AW9523. It's a fun one.
Rolls off the tongue.
It does.
Oh.
It's nice. It's like aw. But yeah, so that's using muxes. I've done it a couple times with these kind of bigger music projects, whether they're robots or controllers, just to get more IO, and it makes it really, really handy.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love stemma because like daisy chaining the screen to the driver.
I love a daisy chain.
Yeah. I actually want to redo this project with the stemma rotary encoder and potentially some NeoPixel LEDs.
That would be fun.
they're I'm hoping we can do an update sometime this year. So yeah, that is the last project we'll end up with. If you're a fan of arcade buttons and making sounds with them, check out our Pico MIDI Fighter. A couple of people have done it.
Yes.
And actually, shout out to Remy who did a modification to the CircuitPython code where you can like save.
Is it JSON?
Oh yeah.
It's something like it's not quite a JSON.
You can have like a configuration file, similar how we used to have like the secrets.py, and now we have settings.toml. It's a separate file that you can have these different MIDI mappings in, and you can like load them up. So that's
cool.
That was something I thought about at the time, but you know, you could keep iterating on a project for forever.
We have time limits.
So it can be out of control. So I think next time I definitely want to like look into that. And that's something I've considered for other projects too. Being able to have these kind of different configurations for variables. We have like 15 CircuitPy drives hooked up right now. So
oh my God, there's still yeah, Moo. I'm surprised Moo is just like, okay,
it's
cool.
like whatever you want, man.
Yeah, so this is the presets.py, and I have my array of MIDI notes, and I have different things, and you press the center button to hold down to switch between those. And I think it's using the debounce library so that you can change, or that you can detect a long press versus a short press.
Yeah, there's a lot of different ways you can do fun button presses in CircuitPython. There's keypad, there's debounce, you know.
Yeah. Cool. This is the wrong code, actually. This is the D20 code. I can tell because this is flipping there.
Oh yeah.
But it's fine. Hopefully I didn't overwrite my code.
I've had that happen. I'm gonna be careful.
Everything's fine.
But that's just a quick look at that. And it's just a good example of how the community can contribute back and like add their own features to it, and I get to benefit from it.
And me too.
So shout out to Remy for doing that, posting it up on GitHub. It's out there.
Yeah.
And
that's why we release everything.
Yeah, that's why everything's open source. And that's one of the benefits of having an open source project is folks can contribute back.
Real quick question on the acrylic window that needs to be cut. I think you need a CNC because of the way you have that bevel, right? On the window. So it's just not a straight cut square
it's a
rectangle
2.5D kind of thing. Yeah.
I mean, you could print it too.
I guess you could print it. Yeah, you could definitely print it with some clear filament, or have it 3D printed in resin, clear resin. JLC PCB would probably charge $1 for it, and you just pay shipping on that.
Yeah, the 3D printing services are really good right now.
Yeah, there's some CNC services too, like Pinocchio.
Right.
You could try. Send cut send is another one. There's lots of services these days to get some of these things built, or just have no window. That's fine too.
No window.
Yeah.
Cool. I think that is it for our schedule.
Yeah, we're
1 o'clock,
gonna.
someone else bouncing on.
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
gonna bounce.
Next is the Synth.io panel.
Oh, I'm
which is
looking forward to
Going to
that.
be really fun.
Nice.
Yeah. Before we go, don't forget if you
Yes.
want to order anything to support all of us in the community, you can use coupon code, get 10% off your order.
Mhm.
If you need some hardware, whatever's in stock, get it. CircuitPy Day is the coupon code. Don't forget the blog has the schedule, which I have closed my window, but we're closing it off anyway.
Yes.
So thank you everybody
All
for
right, yeah.
watching.
Happy CircuitPython Day.
CircuitPython Day.
Looking forward to more CircuitPython projects.
Bye,
I'm gonna
folks.
go get a
Bye.
purple cake.
Yes.
Yes, we'll get a Blinka cake.